Who is your favorite and least favorite client to work with?
People that join the program and they sit on their ass, they don't put in the work. And
why did you start a pressure washing business?
I was actually working for a big franchise company, and at the end of the day, only collecting 15% of that particular project. When it clicked for me was
When should I hire my first employee, and for which role?
As a business owner, the goal is really just to delegate everything. So really, when to hire and what to hire for should be. What's going on, guys? It's Michael Pisco, and I'm here with Miguel Fonseca, and today we're going to be answering some of your questions. Let's dive into it.
One of the questions we got, and I think would be a good one to start us off, is how did you start EVOLV Digital?
That's a good question. So when I first started EVOLV Digital, at the time, we were working mostly with e-commerce brands. So in the beginning, we actually didn't work with any pressure washing businesses. Early on, I was really the jack of all trades, working multiple industries, multiple services, just trying to find my footing and see what it is I enjoyed and what I was good at. Eventually, I actually ended up partnering with Miguel, helping him grow his pressure washing business, where he was doing a good job, but he was mostly doing traditional marketing. So we figured with his experience in the pressure washing space and my experience with digital marketing, if we were to join forces and just go all in on the pressure washing industry together, we could really make a big impact on the industry. Plus, we just saw there's a huge need for it because a lot of these guys, they don't care for marketing. They don't want to worry about it. They just want to go out, do the jobs, which is completely understandable. So we saw the need for it. We decided to go all in, and 3 years later, we've been working exclusively with pressure washing businesses, and we've worked with over 400 businesses so far. So it's been an awesome experience.
Why did you start a pressure washing business?
So initially, I had no intentions of starting a pressure washing business. I was actually working for a big franchise company that offered all these services such as pressure washing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and so forth. When it clicked for me was when I was going out, doing the estimate, doing the entire project, and then at the end of the day, only collecting 15% of that particular project. So I easily realized that the amount of value that I was providing wasn't proportionate to what I was making from that position. And so once all of that clicked for me, I just stopped, thought to myself, what's stopping me from doing it? And so ever since that day, I started being a lot more calculated, a lot more strategic, and once the time was right, bought everything I needed to, and then hit the ground running and started my own pressure washing business. Never looked back since.
How do you know when your ads are ready to scale? How do you decide how much to spend on each ad?
That's a good question, and I think it's something that people typically overthink. You should scale your ad when it's profitable and it's generating good results. So if you're getting a good cost per acquisition, if the ad is working, scale it up. If for every $1 you put in, you get out $5, for every $50 spent, you acquire your job, those are good numbers. You should just scale it up from there. Really, I mean, it's quite simple. Just look at the numbers. Is it profitable? Is it numbers you're happy with? And if it is, just start scaling it up, and you should be able to maintain those numbers. You really won't start to see diminishing returns until you're spending hundreds of dollars per day, which for most of you watching this, that's just not going to be the case. Just know your numbers, and if the numbers are good, scale it up from there. And then what was the second part of the question?
How do you decide how much to spend on each ad?
Again, one of those questions where you don't want to overthink it. If the ad is working, spend more money on it. So if you have 3 ads, one of them is getting you a $30 cost per acquisition, one is getting $50, one is getting $70. The one that's getting you $70 is probably profitable, but if the other ones are performing that much better, you might as well just cut that out and spend more money on the $30 cost per acquisition ad, and then spend a bit on the $50 cost per acquisition. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket with that $30 cost per acquisition ad, just because that ad could suddenly die down and then it's not generating you anything. So you do want to have something as a backup option. But the only other thing I would add is that you might want to add like 10% of your budget just for testing brand new things, 10% that you're willing to lose and have no idea if it's going to work. That way you can constantly try to find new winners, new audiences, and if it is profitable, you can start to scale that up.
Did you jump right into it, or did you start your business part-time?
With the exterior cleaning business, when I had first started off, I knew that this was my next chapter. And so when I did my first job, it was full-time, it was green light, all go, no looking back. But you can definitely start this business model on a part-time basis. Let's say you're juggling a 9 to 5 at the moment just to raise capital. It's definitely a business dynamic that allows you to pick and choose the days that you are allocating to the business. And then once you start to see that return on investment exceed that of your 9 to 5 is when you know it's the perfect time to make the transition to going all in and making this your full time.
Another thing to remember too is that when Miguel started his pressure washing business, beforehand you were working for a pressure washing company. He had an idea of how to speak to customers. He could do the job really well. He had a good idea of how to get customers. So he had a lot of the important stuff down already. A lot of the new guys getting into it today don't have experience doing pressure washing. So if you have zero experience, it might be a good idea to actually get a job at another pressure washing company, gain some experience. Or if you're making really good money at your current job and you don't want to quit that until you have, this side hustle and eventually business generating a good amount of income, then in the beginning you might want to do it part-time just to learn as much as possible. But once you feel comfortable with how to speak with customers, how to do the jobs, how to basically run the business, that's when I'd recommend going all in and putting all your eggs in one basket and making the business work.
When should I hire my first employee and for which role?
That's a good question, which I think both of us can answer, but I'll go first. The way I look at it is, as the business owner, you wear all of the hats. So you are the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the technician, you're the financial person, you're every role within your company. Eventually, as you grow the business and you start to become more busy, you're gonna notice there's one hat that you wear, one role that is taking up more of your time. So let's say, for example, for a lot of people that might be just being a technician, it might be taking you 30 hours per week, and then your other roles are taking few hours each. The way you can grow your business is by freeing up your time so you can put more time towards other important stuff. Let's say the technician role is taking up a lot of your time. Find a technician, work with them in the beginning, but eventually they should be good to go out and do the jobs on their own. It really, pressure washing is not a hard service to learn. So really after a few weeks, they should be able to go out and do it on their own, which means you're going to free up 30 hours of your time. So imagine if you could put 30 hours of your time towards sales, marketing, all those other hats you're wearing. Now, eventually something else is going to take up a lot of your time. You're going to take 30 hours per week that you're putting just towards sales. So at that point, you want to hire a salesperson. And it's just going to be that same process where as a business owner, the goal is really just to delegate everything. So really when to hire and what to hire for should be when it is eating up a lot of your time and whatever that role is that is taking up most of your time. Did you want to add on to that?
You said it all. Very well said.
How much money do you need to start a pressure washing business?
Realistically, you could start in the industry for as low as $200, and that's the cost that will cover you renting out the equipment to bang out a few jobs. Now, if you go to purchase all of the equipment yourself and start from scratch that way, you can get into this industry for around $1,000. And look, I'm sure a lot of people are going to complain $1,000 is a lot of money, but look, realistically, you could potentially make that back from one single job. No brainer.
Who was your favorite and least favorite client to work with?
This is a good question, but I'm not gonna, go name dropping some of our clients. But I will say this: when it comes to really any program, and like our program, for example, where we help with marketing, we help with coaching, we're super involved. But really, when it comes to anything, you get out of it what you put into it. We've had clients that within the first month, they work their ass off. They go through our training videos. They show up for coaching calls. And within the first month, they went from $2,000 to $13,000. We have other clients that within first 30, 45 days, they're doubling their revenue, adding $10,000 per month in revenue within, just a few weeks. But that's because they put in the work. We gave them the resources and they put in the work to make it happen. We provide everyone with an equal opportunity. So there's also people that join the program and they sit on their ass hoping things just fall into their lap. They don't put in the work and they expect us to just do the work for them. And that's just gonna be the case with anything. You're gonna have the people that put in the work and they see amazing results, and then the people that have the same resources and no work ethic and they complain and they point fingers and they don't hold themselves accountable. So I guess to answer your question, my favorite client is really just the clients that put in the work. They show up and they're just awesome to work with because it's really a great feeling knowing what we're doing is actually impacting people. And then my least favorite client is just the people where it's disappointing because we know what it could do for them, but it doesn't do it for them because they simply don't put in the work. I hope that answers your question.
Personally, what I've noticed, the best clients are those that are proactive, the ones that are joining all of these calls, asking the right questions, the ones that are taking action. And then look, the ones that I can consider to be, say, shitty clients are those that either don't even join any of these calls, then maybe they'll join a call here and there, but then as opposed to trying to be involved, engaged into just growth and scaling of their business, they'd rather just complain about something minuscule that isn't going to lead them in any direction of growing and scaling their business in the right direction.
I have all my equipment and everything ready to take on jobs, but no money for marketing. What should I do to get jobs?
Let me get this one, because I talk about this very, very often in the coaching calls. Whenever somebody does not have capital to invest in marketing up front, I always recommend that they tap into the free sources that they have accessible to them. And the main one that comes to mind is the Facebook group strategy right off the bat. And the Facebook group strategy is simply the strategy of joining as many Facebook community groups as possible. When I say that, I'm not talking about like 20, 30, 40. Realistically, I'm talking about like around 200 groups. And what you want to be doing within all of these Facebook community groups is not trying to sell your services like everybody else, but actually to provide value and express a sense of knowledge and expertise within the industry. And what that's going to do is, in the homeowner's perspective, there's an aspect of you that they feel that they can trust a bit more. And even if nothing comes to fruition after making that first post, or maybe even that second post, but I can almost guarantee when people see that you're consistently providing value without doing too much selling, you're going to stand out, and they will reach a point where they stop for a second and say, who the hell is this guy? There will raise a sense of curiosity, and that in of itself will be a reason for them to want to reach out and inquire about what it is that you are selling, simply because you're not taking the direct approach of selling them. And that is a strategy that I've seen to be one of the most effective marketing strategies that require a total of zero marketing budget.
And another thing to mention too with the Facebook group strategy is that, let's say you give a suggestion on how they can handle a certain issue that's commonly faced in your area. More often than not, they're going to be lazy and not want to do it themselves. So if they can trust you and they figure, I don't want to do it myself, might as well hire this person, then more often than not, you're going to get jobs just from people not wanting to do it themselves. Even though you gave them the understanding how to do it, they're just going to reach out to you anyway.
It's kind of a funny story that I incorporated with the Facebook group strategy. And so I'm big on not selling within this strategy, right? And so I'll do everything almost in the opposite of selling. And so one strategy that I've incorporated within the Facebook group strategy is I've even gone as far as almost guiding and educating homeowners to clean their own home with the pressure washers that they may already have sitting in the garage. Like, you might be thinking, like, that makes completely zero sense, because we are an exterior cleaning business. But the reason I did that was to build that sense of trust. And what the homeowners will realize, that their residential pressure washer, which is probably 2.5 gallons per minute or even less, isn't effective enough to clean the entire home. Even those 2-3-story floors that their pressure washer is not able to get to. And what I noticed was I had few homeowners reach out to me based off of that post that I made, trying to push them to do the cleaning themselves. And ironically enough, they reached out to me because they weren't able to get a quality cleaning. And at that point in time, they didn't feel comfortable with going with anybody else besides the person that pushed them to take that action in the first place. So at that point, you'll notice that you will be dealing with a much higher quality lead than any lead that you may get from other marketing sources.
We spent a lot of time talking about the Facebook group strategy, so just to be pretty quick, I would also mention door knocking is obviously free. It takes no money, it just takes time. We're not going to go into detail on that, but I will say the biggest thing is volume. Go out and knock on a ton of doors. You're going to get a lot of people telling you no, but you're going to get people that will tell you yes. So you're just looking for those yeses. If you guys want a door knocking script, comment script on this video and we'll actually share our script with you. But yeah, so post in Facebook groups, that should take a few hours per week. Door knock, you can do that 8 hours a day if you really wanted to. And then just leverage free social media platforms and make posts on there. All of that should keep you busy and eventually get you to the point where you can reinvest into paid advertising, and that's where when your business will really take off.
If I'm running Facebook ads, what should my cost per lead be?
The answer to this question is going to be different for everybody. The ideal cost per lead for one person is not going to be the same as someone else, and really depends on the type of results you can even get in your market in the first place. So what I would recommend is run Facebook ads, gather data, see what type of cost per lead you are getting, what type of cost per acquisition you are getting, and then once you have real data to work off of, then you can determine your goals. You can also reverse engineer and say, if I want to spend $50 to close one job, then that means I need 5 leads at a $10 cost per lead. So you know your goal is a $10 cost per lead, but just saying that isn't enough. In some markets, it's going to be different and you might not be able to achieve those numbers. So I always recommend run the ads first, gather data, really give it a go. Don't stop after a few days of doing it. Spend weeks or even months really giving it your all, spending the necessary money to test, and not just testing random stuff, but doing a ton of research and learn as much as possible. That way you'll be running ads that actually look good and can convert well. Once you have enough experience, you're going to have a good idea of what type of cost per lead you can get, what type of close rate you'll get, and then from there you can determine what your cost per lead would need to be to have your ideal cost per acquisition.
One thing I've noticed with business owners that run digital ads is they'll take that cost per lead, and if it's a number that they just initially do not like, they think it's a bit high, a lot of business or some business owners will look at that and allow that to be the determining factor whether digital ads work or not, as opposed to using that as key metrics for them to make the necessary changes for digital ads to actually work the same way they do for a lot of top businesses within this industry.
That's a good point, actually, because whoever's willing to spend the most to acquire a customer is going to win. So if you're willing to spend $50, but you have a competitor willing to spend $75 to acquire a customer, they're going to win. And these larger companies are willing to spend more because they know they're going to get so much more out of that customer. They're going to get a customer, they're going to get referrals, they're going to get Google reviews, they're going to get recurring work, and it's going to turn into so much more than just that $75 cost per acquisition. So it's also important that you don't set a super low goal for your cost per acquisition that's just not attainable, which ultimately leads you to give up anyway.
Can I become a millionaire with pressure washing?
That's a good question, because you can become a millionaire with just about any business model. I think pressure washing is a really good business model to be able to, achieve, whether it's $1 million in annual revenue or $1 million in assets or whatever else it might be. But to be honest, you can become a millionaire in just about any business model. So once you realize that most business models work, it's just a matter of you making it work. So now the question becomes, what do you need to do to become a 7-figure human being? So I think one of the biggest things is just always looking to grow. A lot of people get stuck in their ways and they're not trying to grow. They're just trying to show up, do the bare minimum, and hope to make ends meet. But the people that are really successful are trying to learn something every single day. They're working out every day, treating their bodies right, eating the right food. They're making sure they're getting enough sleep, getting enough water, and they really treat their body like a temple. And then they're showing up for work. They're grinding hours on end, doing what they need to do to grow. So I really believe how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you're not willing to level up as a human being and constantly learn, read books, and do what you need to do to progress, then you're never going to become a 7-figure business owner or a millionaire. Now, if you're willing to do those things, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but you can make it happen. And especially with the pressure washing business, it's very possible. But again, it will not happen if you're not willing to do those things. Did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I got something. Real quick, can you ask the question once again?
Can I become a millionaire with pressure washing?
Yes.
So that was all the questions we got time for today. If you guys want to see a part 2, just comment down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video.